Today I want to talk about repatriating the Jamaican monarchy as an alternative to becoming a republic. Repatriating what? Yes, the Jamaican monarchy. What a damn silly idea. Anyway, before you go laughing at my idea or before you go dismissing it, can I ask you to listen to what I have to say, and then at the end of it you can make a proper decision. Football is over. Football was over since yesterday. Arsenal didn't win. So I am now able to re-enter the debate about replacing the king as the head of state of Jamaica. The Constitutional Commission has put in its report, and I must say that they couldn't have done a worse job. How in God's name do you put a report in to become a republic while at the same time keeping the Privy Council as our final court of arbitration? The king is the head of the Privy Council. So what would we have done? Become a republic, but the king is still in charge? That is an error which is unbelievably schoolboyish. We don't seem to be able to fight our way out of a wet paper bag on this one, and we've been going about this republic thing since the day after independence in 1962. It's becoming a bit of a dog's dinner. Come on, we can do better than this, but I digress. If we are to give up the king or the queen of the UK or England as the head of state, becoming a republic is not our only option. There are other options. First of all, the way we are deciding it is not quite right. The Constitution requires any decision to be made on the king or queen as head of state to be done by a referendum. And what do I mean by that? Not for somebody to decide that we're going to become a republic and then put it to a referendum. The decision to give up the king or queen must itself be put to a referendum. So we could end up with a series of referenda and not just one referendum. The decision can't be made that we're going to become a republic and then we just go and vote as dutiful citizens. No, that's not what the Constitution says. The very act of giving up the king or queen must be put to a referendum. Having said that, if we were to give up the king or queen, let's say we have decided that, I believe that there are other options apart from becoming a republic. I believe we should create a Jamaican monarchy. As Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, we must create and emulate heroes of our own. We must canonize our own saints, and that is the sense in which I use the term repatriate. Jamaicans have been crowning themselves king and queen and prince and princesses for as long as I can remember. King Jammies, King Tubbies, King Stit, King Yellowman, Queen Ifrika, Prince Buster, Prince Jasper. The only Jamaican who has named himself president is Scotty. The president and mash up the resident. You rub it in a rebel Dina. Yes, that's Scotty. The only person to have named himself president. We have been a constitutional monarchy since 1962, so why not stick with what we already know? It would be cheaper and easier to do and would provide a potential boost for the economy. There is no economic value in becoming a republic. And I'm not saying that we're doing it because there's an economic value. I'm saying there wouldn't be any economic value. No one would be better off. It is a convenient way to put aside our colonial past. And if that is what we want to do, then be honest about it and say so. But to make people think that we would be better off is Brazil. It is a nice symbolic gesture, but nothing more. And as I said, a republic is just one of several options. For example, Jamaica could become a theocracy. It could be run by the state, similar by the church, similar to Iran. Iran is a theocracy, but it is also a republic. The immediate problem for Jamaica is that the church in Jamaica is extremely fragmented. So that wouldn't really work. But it's an example of another option, and that's the only reason why I'm mentioning it. So my point is that we should put the economy before sentiments and do it the right way. But I'll come back to this point. My second point is that we made our last constitutional change in 1962 without the involvement of a large part of our population. We should not let that happen again. What do I mean? The decision which was made to leave the West Indies Federation in September 1961 was made by adults aged 21 years and older. I was 5 years old then. I had no say in that decision, but I've had to live with that decision for the last 63 years. I am therefore advocating that every child 10 years and older be allowed to vote in the referendum on whatever the question is. And as I said, there may have to be a series of referenda if we interpret the Constitution correctly. Children are not stupid. They take part in an extremely difficult exam to go to secondary school. PEP, GSAT, Common Entrance, call it what you will. If they can do that exam, they can answer a simple binary question about their future. This is an opportunity to teach our children civics in real time, rather than wait for them to become adults at 18 and then suddenly all the expectations and responsibilities, including voting at elections, are heaped upon their shoulders. If we were designing a new country from scratch, would we design it in that way? I think not. Let me now move to the economic case for this rather silly idea. We know that the UK makes millions of pounds out of the monarchy by way of tourism. Jamaica could similarly capitalize on the Jamaican monarchy. We have missed opportunities before and look at others making money from our invention and wonder how did that happen. For example, the eye. Jamaica invented the eye. Irie, ital, I and I. But it's Apple that makes money from the eye. How did that happen? Jamaica also invented the sweet cali weed. But who is making the money? There is money to be made from a Jamaican king or queen. How? Let me tell you briefly. Kingston can become a big tourist destination. Clean it up, fix it up. It could. We could open King's House once per week to tour operators for visitors to meet the king or queen. I mean, put him or her to work. She could do all the other constitutional and ceremonial duties on the other days of the week. For the purposes of this discussion, I'm assuming that we're going to end up with a ceremonial and not an executive head of state. So, as I was saying, open King's House one day per week for visitors to meet the Queen and I dare say the young princes and princesses. Can you imagine how much money could be made in one morning, part of which is spent at the Bob Marley Museum on Hope Road, followed by a trip to King's House, followed by a lunch at Devon House, and then a tour of downtown Kingston and the Crafts Market? How hard would it be to make that happen? The other issue to do with money is about potential savings. Having a king or queen would save millions of dollars, for example, in the JDF Coast Guard renaming costs. It may not be widely known, but all JDF Coast Guard ships are named after His or Her Majesty. For example, HMJS Alexander Bustamante, which means Her Majesty's or His Majesty's Jamaica ship Alexander Bustamante, and that's a real ship in the Coast Guard. It will be at considerable expense to rename these vessels. We could convert these potential costs into savings to spend on education or health, or to help bring water to our farmers. Of course, there are other issues of how we would elect the monarch and what powers he or she would have, but those are issues which could be settled, and in fact is no different from the question of how we would elect a president. So I'm saying that there are lots of other questions that still need to be resolved. Becoming a republic does not make it any easier for any nobody Jamaican to aspire to be head of state. So with all the symbolism of being our own masters, we would be not denying little boys and girls from across Jamaica the chance to dream. There are numerous questions which I won't list here, but which are still to be answered as we dash headlong into a referendum as we did in 1962. Except this is not 1962, but we are likely to wake up with an almighty hangover the day after. Sure, that can't happen to me, man. But it happened to the UK in the Brexit referendum a few years ago. Sure, them are idiot. My mother used to quote Alfred Tennyson's Charge of the Light Brigade. Into the valley of death rode the 600. There's not to reason why, there's but to do and die. And for the same reason, this feels exactly like that, the Charge of the Light Brigade. But then again, given everything that is happening, this may be another false start. How are we going to keep a referendum in 2025 in an election year? I think no referendum is not going to keep. A few other things while I'm at it. The process is shrouded in mystery. The Constitutional Commission is working in the dark, putting out the odd statement here and there, while the JIS, the Jamaica Information Service, sits there not doing a very good job of informing people of what's going on. I think there are people falling down on the job. We need to know more about what is going on. A few people are asking the right questions, but they are being ignored. I say, let's keep it simple. Get rid of the king. I'm no fan of the king. I'm no fan of the monarchy. But if we're going to have a change, let's not go and decide that we're going to have a republic when nobody has said we should. Let's have a Jamaican monarchy. Let's create our own monarchy. Becoming a republic is not all it's cracked up to be. Most republics in the world are failures. So, there you have it. That's my rather silly idea. What do you think?